financial problems, elder law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by Thav Gross. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is, you're taking away my available credit.
Sounds like
You doing that to me, Jenny?
Absolutely not, Ken. Good to be here today.
Right? You probably are taking away my available credit. If I know you,
You know what? It's my absolute goal in life to make sure that no one has to live or use credit unless they can afford it and want to and have the money to pay it all off each
Oh
month.
my God.
I am glad he's not my father. Jeffrey Kirshner, nice to see you.
Nice to see you, and I always give you credit.
Thank you. Pat Simasco.
I wish Brian was my dad.
There we go. All right, so the topic...
Wait, he's the old one here, not
I
me.
wish Brian was my dad.
I can see this year is going to be focused
You
on
can see the
age way
caring
too
out
much.
of
All
them.
right, so what are we talking about? Taking away my available credit. Let me just set the scene real quickly. You have credit cards. Okay, you have a credit card with XYZ company. Your credit limit is $15,000. You currently owe them $5,000. Suddenly you get a letter in the mail that says, "Dear Mr. Jones, we value your service. You're a great guy. You've made all your payments on time, but we're lowering your available credit to $5,500. So now I have $500 left." That's where they're taking away your available credit.
Why? Why would they want people to have more credit? Why
No, they
are
don't.
doing
No,
that?
you see, right now what's going on with the banking industry is that they're preparing for the next recession.
Are they preparing?
They
actually?
absolutely-
They think it's
Particularly
coming.
Discover and Capital One
They
have
think
come
it's
out
coming.
and announced it.
Now,
And-
Ken,
and-
a lot of people have the misunderstanding that it's not going to happen to them because they say, well, I've always made my payments on time. I always pay more than the minimum. I'm not even close to my credit limit. But as Brian's saying, that really has nothing to do with it.
See, the banks are putting themselves in a position to protect themselves. When the Great Recession of 07-08 hit, what happened was the banks did lower your available credit. They were
After the fact.
slow to getting there, and so they lost an incredible amount of money. And you remember we had all these liquidity tests, and the banks were put in place, and so that they withstand the next recession or a depression,
That
etc.
was good, hard-working people that lost their jobs.
Yes.
Just like GM is downsizing 25%.
Everybody got those
But-
letters in the recession.
We're not talking about whether people are going to lose their jobs. That's going to happen in the next recession. Everybody understands that there will be the fallout from a recession. Where it is the banks are going to protect themselves. They do not care about you as an individual.
Right, so, yeah, put it in perspective. Capital One and Discover, which are considered more on the subprime lending of the credit card market. It's not like everybody has all of the cards for the most part. They're looking at it, and they've come out, and it was announced at the end of the year. They see too much exposure because they have cards out there with high limits that aren't even being used. And they're saying when things get bad, people are going to then use the card, stop paying, and default. So what they're doing is they're cutting their exposure by canceling those cards and trimming available credit.
They're not using it anyway.
Right. But how I see that unfolding is as they do it, then Bank of America and Chase and the other cards out there are going to say, well, wait a second. If they're cutting back the available exposure, that means we're taking all of
More
the exposure.
exposure.
So as things start to deteriorate a little bit in the market, they will follow suit. When they follow suit, all of a sudden you have the vast consuming public with much less available credit.
No cash in the bank,
What drives the economy?
and their credit scores go down.
And what drives the economy?
Spending.
Consumer spending. Consumer spending is being spent right now by increasing consumer debt. Last month it was reported $22 billion increase in consumer debt in December
Let me just
of
say one
2018.
thing. For my wife's birthday, I bought her some Target stock, the store stock, and the stock dropped considerably. So what did she do? I got to go buy more at Target. right?
Oh, you have to buy more. You have
You have to go buy more.
And based upon the show that we recently had, you also should be buying more
More
Target
stock,
stock
right.
because you want to buy when it's low.
But I don't blame these credit card companies right now for
That's
what they're
triple
doing.
downing, not double downing.
But I don't blame them for what they're doing right now. I think if you're an owner of the company, I think you're smart to protect yourself now because you foresee down the road with people getting laid off, that's the first thing they'll do is they'll go to the credit cards.
You may be right in what you're saying from the standpoint of protecting your shareholders, but what
Right.
you're also, but what's going to happen because of your bad policies of making all this consumer debt available to everybody is you're going to be a driving force that causes the next recession.
And that's true. Look at
And when
look
that
at
happens, that's not going to be good for
look
you,
at
Mr. Bank.
look at
either.
what happened with regard to the home loans with the bubble that burst the last time, right? It was all the mortgages. Everybody, Tom, Dick, and Harry was given a mortgage whether they were practically
so,
not
yeah.
breathing. So now what's happening is those mortgages, I think, are pretty solid. I don't think we're going to have a housing crisis again. But where we are going to
agree
have the
with you on
crisis is the subprime auto loans are over $1 trillion right now. Student loans are at $1.5 trillion worth of
Is that
debt.
what they call the debt bubble? Is that the debt bubble that they're talking about?
Yeah, I believe that that's what
Absolutely.
they're talking about. And credit cards, which were down to $700 billion in 2010,
1.04.
are back to 1.04, and the most recent trillion. The most recent stat I saw was 1.2 trillion. So there's some.
There's always some.
What's a
some-
little number on it?
Where
But
is it?
the issue, though, is back to your point, is this going to be causing the recession, or are they
Well-
or because of their action not causing it, they already see it coming,
That-
that they're going to then speed it up because of their action?
I say it's going to be both because it goes right to my point. Is as soon as you take away available consumer credit, you're not going to have consumer spending. You have negative GNP for 2 consecutive quarters. You are defined in a recession. Where's that going to come from? From lack of consumer spending. So then you're going to take away the available credit. You're going to have less spending. That's going to drive us into a recession, and then it's going to make it worse. And all along, the banks are going to do the same thing they did last time. They're going to take away everybody's available credit. And then I disagree with you, Brian. The housing market will then crash because you will have no one who has any money to buy a house. And as soon as that happens, the new housing market crashes, and that brings down the old housing market.
So I got a
the
question
used
for you,
housing market.
and I know that we're coming up on a break, but what's the solution for the average consumer?
After the break, that's what we'll talk about.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, so we're talking about consumer debt. All right, let me give you some quick facts. We touched on them before. This is out of Yahoo Finance. 1.04
you
trillion.
just read some really exciting stuff.
I
Dad.
like this stuff. In credit card debt, 22% increase. And you saw 1.2 trillion. Yahoo Finance is
That's
1.04.
Over what period of time?
Past 5 years. 2.9 trillion lies in non-revolving debt such as auto and student loans. That's a 30% increase. This is over.
Wow.
And that's going up,
Remember,
too.
5 years is only going back to 2014. It's not going back to the
And
recession. It's
student
back 10
loans.
years ago.
Student loans
only
are a
going
100% increase in the last 10 years.
This is shocking to me. CNBC, January of this year, article, 1 in 5 millennials with debt expect to die without ever paying it off. I thought
They won.
millennials had a different vision of, because they were children of the Great Recession in some respects, and I would have thought that they would have come out of it with a more financially responsible approach, kind of like depression babies.
I think it was different. It was worse than the Depression. People were, living off of the food that they planted.
But I
In
think
the
we
recession,
have
they
to
didn't
take
have
into
that.
account the student loans and the cost of college tuition.
Student loans are
I
killing
think
it.
that's
You're
what's-
almost a millennial.
Well, I think that's what's killing it is the cost of school went up. So when we have people coming out with $50,000, $60,000, $150,000 of student loans, they're looking at these as 30-year loans. They're never going to be able to pay
And
those
working
off
at
plus a mortgage.
Starbucks versus
and-
working in their
You
field.
know where I got the misconception is because I am so tied into what happened in the Great Recession with the show and following and everything else.
You lived through it.
My children are millennials, and I have constantly, I wouldn't want to say brainwashed, but I have emphasized so much the fact of saying you can never pay interest on a credit card. It is a sin. It is the worst thing you can let yourself do because it's financial disaster. I have them brainwashed. They are
No,
afraid
you
to
do
pay
not
any
have them
interest.
brainwashed. You have them properly educated to handle their finances the proper way. The reality is Visa, MasterCard, every bank in America has brainwashed the entire American public to believe that it's acceptable to carry interest and to have credit cards and to use and to
Well,
live on
you
credit.
guys
So
might
Which
just-
reverse brainwashing is just educating.
I don't know if you're both necessarily living in reality, though, because there's a lot of people out there who don't have mom and dad to turn
No, I
to.
agree with you.
Their car breaks down, and they have the choice of either putting it on a credit card, taking out a loan, or not going to work.
Put it on the credit card.
What options?
Well, that's what it's there
Don't mortgage
for.
your house to fix the car.
And-
Put it on a credit card
And
so we
don't
can get rid of it later.
take money out of your 401k to pay your credit card debts. If you're at that point, don't steal from your retirement to deal with your debt. There are better ways to deal with it. Whether you're dealing with, you have to file a bankruptcy, or you're going to do debt resolution, or you're going to have to do something
Well, what you're
budget
saying
management.
though
The
is
key
follow
is
what the credit card companies. If you think the recession is coming, you better start planning in your own household now for that.
Well,
May a year
I'll
or
give
two
you
down
I'll
the
give you an
line.
example of planning. So the last recession, when the housing market, you could see it. The bubble was bursting. People were losing their homes. I was concerned. I had a home equity line of credit that I had never touched. Okay, I had it because when I took out my mortgage, I said, why not? I'll open one up too.
Someone
took-
told you to.
I took all the cash out. I put it in the bank, and I left it there.
All right, so I'm sitting and I've got,
I didn't touch it.
beyond my home equity loan, I have, let's say I have 5 credit cards that have $50,000 of available credit. I have no money, this is fiction, but I have no money in savings. and I'm worried that the banks are going to take away my available credit. Are you suggesting I should tap out those cards, take all the cash advances, stick it in the bank? What about the 29% interest?
So that's
they're
the
charging
problem.
me?
29% interest. A home equity line of credit at that time was 3%. Okay, but listen,
Well,
if
let
you
me-
do
let-
that,
but
if you
let
do
me take
that,
it to
no,
the
no, no, if
extreme,
you
yeah.
do that, and it backfires on you, which it probably will, there is a solution. You can file bankruptcy to get rid of the debt.
Not if you have the cash in the bank, though.
Well, no, because when the
Spend it
the
first.
reality
You're
is,
gonna use
that
that money 'cause
the
you're gonna
money's
lose your
getting
job.
spent because you've prepared for the worst, and then you had to spend it, and that is the real worst.
So here's so let's take that scenario.
It's
Just
not a
say,
good idea.
If all of a sudden you hear,
You know what's a better
if you
idea?
read in the paper, they're taking away everybody's available
Right.
credit, and you haven't gotten the letter yet, and you know you have no cash in the bank. You've already screwed yourself because you made the same mistakes as the last recession. So as soon as they take that available credit away from you, you're going to have no savings and you're going to have no ability to charge. Maybe in that case you do take the available credit, but you have to deal with, if you start paying 29% interest, you're dead. So your ultimate game plan has to be to get rid of that debt through debt resolution.
I certainly
or
don't think
bankruptcy down the road.
pulling
but
out
you
50
can't
grand is a good
intentionally-
idea.
But
Of course not.
correct
But
me,
having
you
some
can't
sort
take
of
the
nest
money.
egg,
You
you ha-
can't intentionally take the money out on your credit card and then file bankruptcy the next week. That's
No, you
fraud, isn't
can't.
it?
We need
It
to
is
get
fraud.
Corey back here and talk about bankruptcy fraud and the
But
criminal
if that's
aspect.
not your intention at the
No.
time you take the money out, and subsequently you then decide that you have to file bankruptcy after meeting with a bankruptcy attorney a year later, that's not fraud.
No, but what it
That
comes
would
down
be called survival.
What it
Planning.
comes down to is there is a level of planning for survival. Every single person should have some sort of cash in the bank to survive something. They tell you that you should have 6 months available cash to
Not
survive.
$400 like the natural.
But that's
natural
an
statistic.
impossibility these days when you hear the statistics of at least 80% of the U.S. population living paycheck to paycheck. That's an impossibility these
Yeah, they're
days
saying
to have
most
6
people
months.
can't come up with $400 to cover an emergency.
But
I will tell
You
you
know why?
this.
Because they're spending it on the new iPhone and the new iPad and the new
Because
scarf
our
and the new
economy
hat.
likes
and,
spending.
yeah.
That's 100% true. I mean,
Yeah.
I have yet to figure out who needs a $1,200 phone. You know,
Right.
it just doesn't make sense. But
Apparently you do.
yeah, but the world the world needs
After
that.
it seems as though I got the bill last week.
The reality is that if you can afford it, that's great. But if you're not saving for your future, you shouldn't be living on the edge in the first place.
We'll come back after the break and figure out what to do next.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
You're all set to retire. You have your home paid off, money in the bank, and sound investments. But if you're not careful, all the things that you work so hard for can disappear. At Samasco Financial, we'll help you prevent that. We go beyond ordinary asset management. We'll safeguard everything that you have by creating a plan made specifically for you. How much can you afford to lose? Nothing. Protect the people that you love and the things that you have. Call Samasco Financial today.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
Time for announcements. Want to remind our viewers to listen to us for Law and Reality Live on Praise Network, 93.5, 98.3, and 99.9 FM, Tuesdays at 10 a.m., Saturdays 7 o'clock a.m. Then on KISS 105.9, Sundays 7 o'clock a.m. Also, listen to us with Law and Reality Here and Now on WMUZ AM 1200, Saturdays at 7 and 2:30 p.m., and WMUZ FM Saturdays at 11 o'clock p.m. Be sure and sign up for our monthly contest. Free $50 Visa gift card, Law and Reality hat, and a copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. Just go to the website, pop your name in on the home page, and you're entered. We have a seminar coming up on Wednesday, February 27th, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Debt relief, get out of the credit card trap, and enjoy life. We're going to talk about all the methods that we use to preserve future income for you and your family so that your money goes into the bank rather than going to pay the credit card debt. Solutions using bankruptcy and also solutions using our system of debt resolution, which is solving credit card debt outside of bankruptcy. Special segment from Jenny Lingle on how to resolve tax problems. Attendees get a free copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. Seminar is always a fun, actually exhilarating event when it comes to all of our unique approaches to getting out of debt. Sign up at thavgross.com, lawandreality.com, or call 888-235-HELP. Also remember, you can always come into the firm for a free consultation. Debt issues and estate planning issues with Brian, tax issues with Jenny, business issues with myself, elder law issues with Pat Samasco, disability issues with Jeffrey Kirshner, criminal issues with Corey Silverstein. All you've got to do is go to the website, request a free consult, or you can call the offices anytime at 888-235-HELP. Be sure and check out our free reports. Go online on thavgross.com or lawandreality.com. Our newest report is Resolving Tax Problems, The Real Solutions, written by Jenny Lingle and myself. Also, How to Save Your Home from Foreclosure, Business Formations and Loans and Grants for Small Businesses in Michigan and Detroit, and The Retiree's Guide to Social Security from Pat Samasco. I want to thank our sponsors, Thav Gross, Samasco Law, Jeff Kirshner Law, and law offices of Corey Silverstein. Now back to the show.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
Nothing provokes panic and fear like the threat of a school shooting. Unfortunately, we've seen a sharp increase in students making copycat threats in order to gain notoriety. I'm Macomb County Prosecutor Eric Smith. Students, this behavior will not be tolerated. Felony charges will be brought against anyone who threatens the safety of our schools. Parents, please talk to your children and pass along this message. If you threaten our schools, it will cost you your future.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, so consumer debt. Back to our millennials. The article said the average amount of consumer debt that the millennials have is $32,000. Let me just put that in perspective. If you're paying 20% interest on $32,000 of credit card debt, that's $6,400 a year. Your minimum payments at 2.5% per month is $9,600 a year in minimum payments. I then went and looked, what's the average income of a millennial? And if you're between 35 and 44 years old, your average millennial income is $49,400 according to USA Today. Divide $9,600 by $49,400, that means you're spending 19.4% of your income to service the credit card debt. And that's after tax. I didn't even go to the before tax, which should be higher. You're paying $800 a month to meet that $9,600. If you took that $800 a month and you invested it for 10 years at 6% interest, you'd have $131,000. In 20 years, you'd have $371,000. The point is this. If you look and think about...
And these millennials have 40 years.
Correct. They can be very wealthy people. If they're smart enough to get rid of the debt and to transfer that money that they're paying on the debt into savings,
We
all
see-
or a part of it.
We see people every day, the senior citizens that came in, they were just good savers, and they did just exactly what you said, and they're worth hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars because they did just savings a little bit each week.
And they paid off their home.
They don't
and they
have
didn't buy.
any
They didn't have to
debt.
buy a new car. They bought a car. They paid it off, and they drove it for 10, 15
Yeah,
years,
yeah.
and took good care of it.
And they had no problems their whole life.
Yeah, I just recently met with a woman to do an estate plan, and she's driving her 1992 vehicle, and her house is worth about $180,000 paid in full, and she had $3.5 million
Right.
in the bank.
And
But I
those
think-
kids of hers will spend it so fast.
Well, I think everyone nowadays, and I put people maybe in the millennials, they're spending every dime that they have. If they're making more money, they're getting a bigger house, they're getting a nicer car, they're having more toys.
I mean, but I think from the baby boomers on, that was what the pattern of the young people were. I
And
mean,
now-
But
we
what's
were
the
guilty
solution?
of that.
How do we get to the
How do
solution?
you get rid of the debt?
I got
We got to get rid of the debt.
Yeah.
That's what it is, and you got to change the way you think about.
You take all the
spending.
money, you get all your debt, you pull it all out of the bank and buy a big ass coffee machine.
Well, you know, the coffee machine is an
That
amusing story.
DeLonghi coffee machine.
Everybody's.
coffee
We've
store.
gone over the coffee story, but that's
a
part
budgeting
of it's
story.
a budgeting. It's budget
How do you get rid of
management.
the debt? We only got 2
All right.
minutes.
So we've got to look at what our solutions are. We have viable solutions that might be Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which eliminates debt. We have Chapter 13 bankruptcy, which restructures your debt and helps you pay back what you can afford, paying back the most important creditors first, i.e. your house and your car, or the IRS if you owe
I don't
the
want
government.
bankruptcy. What else can you do?
Debt resolution. We can settle your debts literally for pennies on the dollar. This is where that concept of pennies on the dollar really does work. We settle it for 35 to 45 cents on the dollar is the average settlement we're getting these days for settling debts. And if the recession comes, I think we'll even do better than that.
How often do they the credit card companies look at when the debt was incurred versus when you
They
filed?
don't. They
No.
don't. When
Generally,
we do debt
they don't.
resolution, it comes down to denying them the money. They want to take. They know it's better to take some money than to try and file a lawsuit, get a judgment, and chase after for
Same thing in
pennies.
the bankruptcy?
No, bankruptcy is different.
Bankruptcy, the nearer you are to using the money to the time you
That's
file
a
the
problem.
bankruptcy, there could be problems
Much more
related
scrutiny.
to non-dischargeability of the debt. But let's assume that you apply one of those formulas to get rid of the debt, bankruptcy or debt resolution. Then you come in and combine it with the other tool, which is budget management, to learn how to find the money that you need to save. The combination effect is that you'll never look at spending money the same way, and you will be individually recession-proof.
Because then you're saving the money you were spending on the credit cards, and you're also saving additional money that you gained out of the budget management. It goes into spending. It's a great program, and it's a great outcome. It's something you need to consider. It's important. If you just keep paying, you'll get to be 65, you'll owe a mortgage, you'll have 2 car payments, $40,000 of credit card debt, and 0 in savings, and you think you're going to retire on that? Good luck. Have a great week. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality. Drive safe. Be safe.